I am going to go ahead and launch a poll to begin with, if you'd like to join in on this. Who said people who end up with good jobs are the proactive ones who are solutions to problems, not problems themselves, who seize the initiative to do whatever is necessary, consistent, and correct principles to get the job done? Today's topic is initiative, if you didn't already know or couldn't figure out from that quote. It's a fairly frequently repeated quote. You may see it abbreviated in some context, but it's from one of these gentlemen, John Maxwell, of course, who's written lots of leadership books and who we're familiar with in this program. Stephen R. Covey, who wrote The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and then his son, The Speed of Trust. Chip Heath, I just recently finished a book by him called Switch, but he also wrote, he's also written some other ones. And then Jim Collins, a business guru from Good to Great, is probably his most well-known book, but all deal with initiative and getting better, all those kind of deal with some of those types of topics. Glad to have you logging on this morning and join us. I'll go ahead and end this poll and share our results. Actually, that quote is from Stephen R. Covey. Kind of a trick question, since we've talked about John Maxwell with so many things. But some of us within Extension had an opportunity last year to actually meet with Stephen Covey Jr., I guess, over his book, The Speed of Trust. A great book, worth your time. But certainly proactive ones are people who are solutions to problems, not problems themselves. I love that part of the quote. But initiative is our topic today. I thought that was a good place to begin. Our instructor today, you're in for a treat. Our instructor today is Dr. Sarah Massengale. Sarah is a county engagement specialist for community development with the University of Missouri Extension. She's headquartered in Dent County. She serves Dent, Phelps, and Crawford counties in Missouri. Her work focuses on improving quality of life in rural communities through social capital, strengthening of food systems, and supporting nonprofit development. Sarah has a doctorate in rural sociology from the University of Missouri-Columbia. She has a master's in urban and regional planning from the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, and a bachelor's degree in biology and environmental studies from Knox College. What an interesting, diverse background that all comes together in the work that she does now, especially in this local food systems work that she's doing. So, Doctor, will you help me welcome Dr. Sarah Massengale as she talks about initiative today.
Morning, everyone. Thanks for having me on today. I've been listening into these, and they've been really helpful to me to think through and be kind of focusing on these leadership skills during this different time that we're going through. So I wanted to ask the question first while David puts up the PowerPoint for me. But tell me a little bit, give me a couple in the chat box. What are some of the words that you would use to describe initiative? What do you look for when you say someone has initiative? Yep, Knox is in Galesburg, Illinois.
We lived there in 6 years.
Great. A go-getter, drive, motivation. Yes, that's great. Yep, go-getter. Not waiting on someone else to get something done, self-starter, get things done, bull by the horns. That's right. So I think of things like independent, taking action, responsible, innovative, self-motivated. And so I wanted to, like my favorite quote in this chapter today was that everyone has great ideas in the shower, but the initiators are the ones who step out and do something about them. And so I wanted to show this picture. I have a 5 and 7-year-old, and one of their favorite series is the Piggy and Elephant books by Mo Willems. And so Piggy and Elephant are best friends, and Elephant has a lot of ideas, a lot of really good ideas, but he's easily distracted and discouraged. Well, Piggy's the one who gets things done. So in this book, Let's Go for a Drive.
I guess I better.
The elephant has the idea that they should go for a drive. So Piggy goes and gets all the things they'll need: umbrellas, maps, sunglasses, suitcases. But then they realize that they don't have a car. So hence the dramatic from Elephant, our plans are ruined, right? So, but what would you do if you plan to go for a drive, but then you don't have a car? And so on the next slide, David. We'll leave it to Piggy, again, to be the resourceful one. And if you can't go for a drive, what can you do with all those things you've collected and still have a good time? So they're going to play pirate instead. So thinking outside the box is another category that I usually associate with initiative, using the assets that you have available, and then being willing to try something new. Those are some things that I think of when we think of initiative. Is there some background noise? I'm not hearing it, David.
I think I've got everybody muted now, so I think we had
Okay.
some background noise, but I think I discovered it. Are you still hearing it?
I can't hear anything anymore, but that was one of
Okay.
the comments there. Okay. So I wanted to ask a question again, if you can kind of comment in the chat box. COVID-19 has definitely, quote unquote, ruined a lot of our plans, or definitely changed them up. So personally, professionally, within our organizations and communities, but we are seeing a lot of initiative in response. So can you give me some examples of initiative that you're seeing now during this COVID-19 response? I definitely think about this series that David started as an opportunity to still provide some leadership training for us while we're working at home. Does anyone else have examples of seeing their communities or people take initiative? Helping people sign up for SNAP benefits over the telephone, the virtual meetings for sure, doing business virtually, social distancing on a pre-order only native plant sale, making masks all the different places. Yeah, great. Yeah, so that's been a really great initiative, is all those companies that have changed what they're doing to help make masks and still be able to respond and be active. Yep, families starting gardens. There's a lot, right? We're seeing a lot of that initiative to find something new. David, did you have a comment?
Oh, I always have a comment, Sarah. I mean, I've seen more families out walking, more families spending time together, more neighbors visiting, getting connected or acquainted, groups, whether it be friend groups or church groups, small groups, meeting through Zoom, inviting others into that. It is an easy way to connect once you kind of understand the technology. But people who for years had said, I don't do technology, I don't do that, are now jumping into those sort of online gatherings at least. So I think that's a good thing. That'll be interesting to see going forward how much of that continues or how that changes ways that we get together.
Mm-hmm. Right. It's been really good to see some of those different examples. Okay, if you want to move to the next slide. So Maxwell talks about, how do we grow our initiative? How do we recognize initiative in people? And one of his first characteristic is knowing what you want, right? Being able to clearly identify what you're focusing on, and then being able to look for opportunities and take advantage of them, and then be able to stick with those when things get tough. So my personal example, the second piece is also the motivation, pushing yourself to act, and then what's your motivation? My example that I'm really proud of is when I was able to work on he was not happy by the end of that ceremony. My personal example of initiative that I'm really proud of is when I finished my PhD, I started a program. I really wanted to do a specific program that was on campus in Columbia. They didn't have a lot of online coursework. It was going to campus weekly for a couple of, for different classes. And then I started it before I had children, then I had children, and that made it even harder. But there were other options for programs that I could have done that would have been more online or different chunks of time. But I knew that if I didn't do the program that I really wanted, that it would be harder for me to finish it because my heart wouldn't have been in it as much. And my other motivation was that I really wanted my kids to know that even though it was really hard at times to get through that program with all the other things that were going on, that when you push yourself and know what you want and are really motivated by that, that you can do a lot of hard things with a lot of work and support. So I will say, right, it can take time. It took me 7 years to finish that PhD program, but my motivation was there and I had all of that support from my husband and family to get that done. So knowing what you want and having the motivation. All right, another one that took 7 years. We can get it done. Doesn't matter how long it takes, right? So those are really important pieces of initiative, right? That's great.
Well, you took your initiative and really put it into practice. I think I've heard people say that practicing initiative creates motivation for more initiative, but you have to put it into practice. No one, I would guess, no one did the work for you. No one reminded you to do your homework.
No, that's right. It was definitely, I had to make sure and find the time for it. And, you know, finding the right, I think sometimes too, finding the right support system. I had working with Extension, they were very encouraging about this, but you're right, still I had to get it done. So yeah, that's right. Being able to practice and put it into action. Okay, the next slide, please. All right, this one is one of my favorite stories. Have you guys seen this on Facebook? So taking risks and then making mistakes and mistakes and mistakes. This girl graduated with her PhD and she wore a skirt to her defense that was made up of all the rejection letters she received from all of the different colleges and programs that had told her no, she wasn't the right fit for that degree program. And so she highlighted that, right? It took a lot of she made a skirt out of all those rejection letters, right? So she didn't let that deter her. And she still, you know, kept chugging along and found a program that was the right fit and she got her degree. So it takes failing forward and being willing to move on from some failures and things that don't work the way you want to. You know, so she took the risk. I liked the piece that Theodore Roosevelt commented, it was quoted in the chapter, "When I make up my mind to do a thing, I act." And right, she's a great example of that she didn't let those rejection letters deter her from what she really wanted to do. So we all make mistakes. The difference with initiators is that they're willing to learn from those mistakes and move forward and not let it stop their progress. I saw that not long after I had finished mine. It was like I wanted to give her a high five for moving forward. So do you guys have examples of times when there's been something that didn't go the way you wanted it to, or a failure, mistake that actually challenged you to keep moving forward? No one's typing. No one wants to admit to it. Those are hard, right? It's hard to admit our mistakes and be able to move forward from them, but it's really important to think about what you can learn from those. I'm always trying to remind my kids, we're all going to make mistakes, but we have to learn from them and keep moving forward. So David,
Sarah, you bring up a great point there, really, about that. There's a whole book, even, well, there's several books, I think, but one that I've read called The Wisdom of Failure. Mm-hmm. And if you'll take time to, you know, reflect back and learn some lessons, there are valuable lessons to learn in failure and how to move forward. And so oftentimes we penalize failure. And so then you make people not want to take a risk or not take initiative because they don't want to fail. And really we should turn that around to some degree, if not rewarding failure, at least taking the time to say, okay, there are valuable lessons here to learn from failure. And that kind of encourages, I think, some risk taking and some initiative even. Right.
And to Gerardo's point, sometimes we have to hit rock bottom to wake up and take initiative. Mm-hmm. Right. Sometimes it's really easy to let those things stop us and not move forward. So you're right. Okay, the next slide.
What's that?
I'm gonna run him in.
So
Oh, okay.
if you wanted to think about changing your mindset, so Maxwell talks about that it's up to us to be able to take initiative. And if you're not at a point where you're taking some initiative, then it's up to us to change our mindset. So have you heard about these, the growth mindset, which is taking those opportunities, learning from failure, being open to challenges, versus the fixed mindset? So what I was born with is what I can do and nothing more. When I'm frustrated, I give up. So I have a poll. Let's think about kind of where you are right now in this mindset and willingness to take initiative. I think, David, there we go. So which option would you choose for yourself? You've always had a growth mindset. It's just easy to take on new challenges and take initiative. Usually have a growth mindset most of the time. I have to work hard to move past a fixed mindset, or I'm always a fixed mindset and it's hard for me to change. Where do we think we are?
Votes are rolling in.
All right. What we want to think about when we're, thinking about how can we change our mindset, it's easy to get comfortable and be concerned about taking risks. But what are you missing out on if you don't take the initiative, right? That's what I always think of is what are we missing if we're not taking some chances? So think about what's holding you back. How can you confront your fears or move past the failures? And again, it's up to us ourselves to make the changes. So most people usually have a growth mindset. I would say that makes a lot of sense, right? There's a lot of times we have to maybe push ourselves a little harder. It might not be as easy. Great. Using a child learning how to walk is a good example of self-motivation. That's true, right? Yeah, you want them to be able to get up and go on their own, but they're going to fall down a lot. Yeah, that's a really good example.
And you had 24% who were really honest and willing to admit that they have to work hard to get past that fixed mindset.
Mm-hmm. Right, and that's okay too. I think recognizing that sometimes, I think I can think of times where it's harder for me to want to try something new, right? So, but yeah, being able to acknowledge that and think through what the steps are to take the initiative or try something new is really important.
We've all been kind of jarred out of that in this situation. We've gone, many of us were probably on automatic. Lots of things were routine. So we've kind of been jarred out of that automatic mode.
Right. Yep, that's true. Kind of like Gerardo's point about hitting rock bottom. I wouldn't say this is rock bottom, but definitely it's taken something kind of dramatic to shake us up a little bit. So, all right, great. If you could change the next slide. All right, so I'm a terrible supervisor, and I say that because I really want employees that have a lot of initiative. That's really important to me. And when I've had employees that aren't the ones to take charge or take some initiative, that's been a really hard struggle for me to help kind of coach them, or how do we help get the job done. I definitely am a supervisor where I want to help give, here's what needs to happen, and then go to it. If you need help, ask questions. But I'm definitely not a micromanager. And so I've been thinking about this question whenever now I do a job interview. I've heard this, I've been asked this type of question in a job interview, but tell me about a time when you had an idea that was great for your own work, your team, or your company. How did you get others excited about it? How did you follow through to ensure your idea came to life? So maybe give me a few examples. How would you respond to that question, or what are you looking for if you were interviewing an employee to help show initiative? Grant had commented, as you think, so you are. We're transformed by the renewing of our minds, requires us to discipline ourselves. That is great. And then our mindset is instilled at an early age by our family life most of the time. That's true too. Although I think there's, courses like this where we're always pushing ourselves and trying to learn more opportunities for us to help increase our mindset, grow our mindset, and be willing to try new opportunities. So what do you think? Is there examples you can type in the chat about how you would respond to this question? What's a time that you were most proud of, the initiative you took? Or what have you heard someone respond when you've been interviewing employees?
Chat is open if you have.
Build teamwork, work and delegate. Elizabeth took the opportunity of a small book launch and turned it into a resource fair with over 40 vendors. That's
Wow.
great. Yeah, that's fantastic. I think those are the types of things we want to look at is, what's something that could have been that you took was something small and grew it into something that benefited more people. Sherry started a nonprofit. That's wonderful. Important to ask those you supervise what they think to get buy-in or discover obstacles or opportunities. Yes, that is exactly right. I think that I had an intern one time and she always answered, I think the way she thought I wanted to hear, right? But then wasn't always able to accomplish what she needed. So if I had pushed a little bit more and asked her to tell me what she thought rather than just what she was answering to me, it might have been helpful. Catherine noted, change starts with baby steps of growth, took on directing a 24-hour prayer chapel for 6 years. Yep, that's great. Yeah, baby steps sometimes are the best way to ease into some of those, trying something new and pushing. That's fantastic. Okay. Angie turned a need from a family call into an event to benefit families. Good. Emphasize the importance of working together, starting with team building through morning prayer time together. Team building is another great way to help build initiative as a team or to see some of the gaps. Like if you're working with a team and there's something that isn't happening, that's a great opportunity to notice and fill that need and use some of your particular skills. That's fantastic. Okay, I guess oh, go ahead, David.
I was gonna say, don't you think with initiative, I mean, sometimes we think about starting a thing that has to be grand or it has to involve hundreds of people or initially, and that it really is okay to start small, to test the waters. Maybe you're just starting something with a few people and then grow it from there. And I don't know, that might even help encourage more initiative. Mm-hmm. When you're taking on things that seem more manageable.
Right. It was like someone a few minutes ago mentioned the baby steps is really important too. Right. Yeah, definitely. Just, I mean, being able to like think through and move, like we said, have an idea in the shower and then step out and do something about it. It doesn't have to be big. So great. Get kids involved. No one can say no to kids. That's great. And, I think that that's a really good point too, is that when we engage kids in conversations or projects or ideas, then that helps them think through how they can start to build initiative or contribute in new ways when they have an opportunity to be engaged like that. So that's great. Yeah. Okay. I guess the next slide, David. And then Catherine commented, give the opportunity your personality, not the same old, same old. That's right. Yeah. What can you, and that's the piece we're going to talk about right here in this slide is don't wait for opportunity to knock. What are your assets, your strengths? What's your personality and what can you contribute to a team or an idea? What are the resources you have available? And then think about what problem could you solve for others? So, right, you can buy leaves or you can rake your own. And so thinking about who needs what you have to offer, right? So I thought that was a pretty good cartoon there. Being creative with, seeing a need, seeing an opportunity, and then being able to market it in different ways to reach different people. And then I wanted to end with taking the next step and don't stop. The gumball trees, those are definitely ones that this would be a good opportunity for. I wanted to highlight the story that was in the beginning of this chapter with Wilson and the Holiday Inn example. Instead of just complaining about the poor experience he had with his hotel stays, he took the initiative to design and create a better option, and then he made it happen, right? So it wasn't just about, I'm going to do one hotel. He started to grow that and find the gaps in the hotel stays. And then he made it happen to address a need for customers and a gap in the business offerings. So look at how successful he was because he saw that it wasn't conducive to take kids to hotels at that time. And so he found a way to make that work and fill that need. So he took the next step and didn't stop, right? And so that's what I think I want to end on is just, it's really about watching for opportunities and then being willing to act and take the next step when you see those. And so there's some comments. It's hard to take that first step on forgiveness, but freeing when we do it, it is a brave step. Yep, that's right. So it is, like David mentioned, the small steps are really important too, as much as the big ones. Okay, so is there any examples you want to give of seeing the opportunity and being ready to take it? And the chat's open, and I think David might have one more poll for us to end on too.
Yeah, we have another poll here. Hey, this might be inappropriate while people are maybe typing a response to your question. Someone shared this with me last week. I thought this was a cute, very short story here, about 4 sentences. It says a team had 4 members called everybody, somebody, anybody, and nobody. And there was an important job to be done. Everybody was sure that somebody would do it. Anybody could have done it, but nobody did it. Somebody got angry about that because it was everybody's job, and everybody thought anybody could do it. Nobody realized that that's everybody's job, but everybody wouldn't do it. So it ended up that everybody blamed somebody when nobody did what anybody could have done. That has a lot to keep track of, but sometimes that sounds like our own community projects or things. It just takes that one person with initiative or being the community spark plug or a spark plug for an event. Sometimes it just takes that one spark plug to get everybody going and seeing that everybody can be involved. It's not just something that somebody else will do. Somebody has to take the reins and take the initiative.
Mm-hmm. I think that's where we also see that sometimes our communities are more successful when people have ideas and act on them rather than just throwing out ideas for someone to do. You're exactly right there. So, okay. Charlie asked if you can share that story maybe in the chat.
Yes.
Yep, a lot would like to share that with their teams. That's
yeah, I will.
Or maybe your leadership follow-up email.
Yeah, at least in follow-up email, I will share that out.
Okay.
Then,
so that's our chapter on initiative. Thank you for letting me talk with you today. And here's David's final poll for the meeting.
I thought this was a great, appropriate quote that kind of summed up everything that you've shared today a little bit. Actions speak louder than words. If that's true, maybe our first action should be to shut up. Our second action should be step up. And our third action should be never give up on doing either of the above. Ben Franklin, John Maxwell, Stephen Covey, Craig Lonsborough. That's pretty direct. Shut up, step up, and never give up on doing the first 2. Several have weighed in here. We'll go ahead and share what everybody thinks it is. It sounds like maybe be a Maxwell. Actually, it's I'm not even sure how to pronounce his last name. Craig Lonsborough. He's a counselor, works for American Medical Association. Actually, works with doctors on improving efficiencies. And I thought, I don't know, the quote kind of made me laugh, but I thought it was pretty direct and a great example, actually, too.
Nice job, Sarah. That was excellent and very enjoyable.
Thank you, Tricia.
Sure.
I want to thank David for his initiative to get these meetings up and running. I definitely think that's been a great example for us to model after. So
it's been nice to hear from everybody and some, individual perspectives. That's been good. And it's been good to have people from all over the state joining in, and hopefully some of you are getting good feedback from those that are participating. We still have a link up where you can weigh in with your feedback on the program. We're always looking to make improvements. And we have a great list of individual instructors coming up.
I'm going to put up a link to the Financially Coping with COVID registration. We're having it tomorrow at 11:30. I'm just going to put it in chat, okay?
Sure.
All right.
Share
Coming up.
share that out.
Yeah, because that way it'll, yeah, of course it's tomorrow. I just thought about it now. What's wrong with me? Goodness sakes.
And for the individual requested, I don't know if they're still on, that story I shared is now in group chat. If you want to copy that out and use it, you're welcome to it. It's public domain. I think it's been around for a long time.
What I should really do is just link people to the Facebook, but you know, I will share with you guys that I've heard a lot of people aren't doing Facebook right now, and I don't blame them. I'll be honest with you.
Could be. Yeah. I mean, it's always good to kind of limit your exposure to some of those things.
Some of that stuff is just crazy.
Well, it can be a time sink. You know, I'll go on to look for somebody's individual update, and before I know it, I've spent 20 minutes watching videos of little cute puppies and bunnies. So it becomes a real time sink.
Yes, but it's so much fun.
Well, yeah, puppies and bunnies are cute. They're a lot of fun.
They are. So are Sarah's kids.
Yeah. Well, that picture at your graduation is one I'm sure will live on in family infamy and be used many times over.
That is a classic. And it also goes along with, apparently, that one I was holding, he was sitting next to my mom during the ceremony, and all of a sudden he leans over and he goes, blah, 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 as they were announcing names. So he was not shy about what he felt that evening.
Well, when he graduates from college someday, perhaps you can throw a fit in his graduation picture.
Definitely.
Return the favor.
Yeah.
That'd be funny.
I love it though. It's, you know, it just shows how real it is. So.
Sarah, are you seeing some increased interest in local food systems during this time? I know Missouri Food Finder has been launched, and it looks like it's had a lot of people registering farms, but you seen other evidences of that?
Yeah, we have. Our groups have been meeting a lot. But one thing I see on Facebook in particular, I'm a member of like a wild edibles group in Missouri, and it's just constant. People are out looking for mushrooms and identifying clover and things that they can eat that are wild products. And then the gardening information. I think a lot of people that are home right now are, you know, have time and are interested in growing a garden. So there's sort of the home and self-procurement side that's really popping up right now as a, you know, self-sufficiency kind of thing. And so there's really been a big interest growing in that. And then, you know, the farmer's market, I think people are really valuing again the opportunities to know who your farmer is. That relationship is important, which is what, you know, like Maria and Pam, those farmers market webinars have been really big. So
yeah,